Dear students, Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the course Introduction to Sociology. I am Kamrez Khan, a visiting lecturer in the Department of Social Work and Sociology KUST. Dear students, in our previous lecture, we have discussed about culture and the various types of culture. In today's lecture, we will talk about the characteristics of culture. The agenda for our today's discussion is the characteristics of culture. In today's lecture, we will discuss about the various characteristics of culture. So dear students, let's take start from the first characteristics of culture, that is culture is social. Culture is social in the sense as it is group product. It does not occur naturally and lonely. It is a social due to man's natural tendency to socialize. In simple words, we can say that culture is social because it never happens alone. Whatever we know about culture is due to our social interaction with others. So, people learn about culture while interacting with others. It never occurs in isolation. Therefore, culture is social. Culture is learned. It is another characteristic of culture. Culture is learned to mean culture is not biologically passed from older generation to the young one, while it is learned through the social interaction and social experiences. The members of a culture share certain ideas which shape their lives. The future generation learn to follow the same ideas. In simple words, culture is learned to mean whatever we know about our culture, whether it is death ceremony, whether it is the celebration of various ceremonies, or the way we get up, or the way we eat. These all are what? These all are learned. We have learned these from our parents, from our father and from our grandfather, and we have learned these all about our culture from our grandfathers. Culture is shared. As we know that culture refers to the shared values, norms and beliefs that a group of people have within the society. It is shared because these cultural characteristics, particular belief, norms, values and practices must be shared by the member of society for the smooth survival. Family can be the best example of transmission of these cultural belief, values and customs to the members of society. Culture is shared simple means that whatever the norms, the values, the belief and the rest of the practices that we have in our society, first we learned and then shared with other member of society. As according to Harton and Hunt, he says that culture is anything which is socially learned and shared by the member of society. So all those things that we have in our culture, as culture is the holistic way of life of people. So all those things that we have in our culture, first we learnt about it and then we shared with other members of society. That's why culture is shared. Culture is symbolic. Before discussing culture is symbolic, let's define symbol. Symbol can simply be defined as anything which represents something else is called symbol. Symbolic culture includes ways of thinking, belief, values and assumption, and way of behaving, interaction and communication with others. Culture is dependent upon symbols. It is because people attach meaning to these symbols at various occasions and then communicate with each other. In simple words, we can say that there are set of symbols used and practiced by the members of society at various occasions. People attach meaning to these symbols at various occasions and then communicate with each other. For example, if we take the example of traffic signal, the red light, it is a symbol which shows us to stop. The red light shows us to stop at one occasion. At another occasion, if we see the same red light on ambulance, then it reminds us that don't stop. So it means that symbols are the things to which people attach meaning at various occasions and then understand, interpret and communicate with each other about these symbols. Symbol can be material like gesture, traffic signal, etc. or it may be non-material such as belief, family pattern, ideas, etc. Culture is transmitted. The belief, the values, the norms that a cultural whole take the form of customs and ritual that people are supposed to follow are transferred from generation to generation. The language and the religious belief and practices are also the part of transmission from generation to generation. Culture is transmitted simply means that whatever the norms, the values, the belief, the practices, the customs, the rituals that we have in our culture has been transmitted to us from our grandfathers, from our parents, and the religion and the language are also the part of this transmission. Culture is subject to change. It means that things of culture never remain static. It is always changes due to dynamic nature of human. The pattern of dressing, food, technologies, etc. do not remain static. These things changes with the passage of time. It simply means that in cultural, which refers to the way of life, never remain static, especially if we talk about today's technological advancement and modernized era, and due to globalization, the cultural practices does not remain the same, while it changes due to various invention and innovations that take place within the society, especially due to globalization, where people are interacting with one another in a global villages, so they know and adopt the various practices. So that's why culture is subject to change. Culture varies. Every society has a culture of its own, which differs from society to society. The culture of every society is unique to itself. Culture are not uniform everywhere in the world. Cultural elements like customs, tradition, morals, values, belief are not uniform everywhere. Culture varies from place to place and time to time and from society to society. Culture is gratifying. It means that culture provides proper opportunities for the satisfaction of needs of and desires of the people living in a society. All the biological and social needs are fulfilled in cultural ways. Culture determines and guides various activities of man. Thus, culture is defined as the process through which human beings satisfy their want. So, we can say that culture is the source of satisfaction of the needs of the members of society. Culture is stable. As we have discussed, due to modernization and globalization and dynamic nature of human, changes occurs within the culture, but there are certain core values which always remain stable, which never changes. Culture is stable when we consider what people hold valuable and are handing over to the next generation in order to maintain their norms and values. For example, being a Muslim, if we talk about the 5 pillars of Islam, these are the core values of our culture, and it will remain stable. It will never change, and the same way it will transfer from generation to generation. Thus, there are the core values within each culture which remains static and never changes. So dear student, that was all about our today's lecture. Thanks.